Now we're talking. Welcome back to another episode of Temp Check Thursdays. I'm really excited about this one. Excited because I've never openly discussed this. I keep my business really private, and I know that this one is going to be more of an out there conversation, but it is going to answer questions as to a lot. So let's just allow everything to unfold. For those of you who are new here, welcome. I'm so excited to have you here. This is a faith-based platform where we get a chance to discuss anything and everything that has happened to me and that I've learned and that I've come across and things of that sort. But real topics, real conversations. And the reason why it's called Temp Check is because we check your temperature at the door. It's an opportunity for you to take that chance to evaluate yourself, take a look at yourself, a midweek evaluation before the weekend starts, just midweek evaluation for you to really take a look at, based on the subject that we discussed, take a look and be like, okay, I can relate, or this is what I need to look at, give you a different perspective, right? If you are returning, welcome back. I'm so happy to have you here. This one is going to get real. So let's just jump right into it. We are discussing celibacy. Straight up. Let me get comfortable. We are discussing celibacy. And I didn't really create an outline. I just put up a couple questions that I feel are the most common questions, especially because I really put myself in the position of, okay, what questions would I have if I was somebody that was on the other side of, this walk, this journey, wanting to know about celibacy? So that's where the questions came about. So what is celibacy? Celibacy is, for those that don't know, because to be honest with you, I don't think that I knew what it was. I thought that it was just you're either a virgin or you're not, realistically. But it's more than that. So celibacy, to me, how my definition of it, because I could just Google it, but my definition of it is intimacy with yourself, right? Intimacy with yourself as in establishing a sense of purity with a purpose behind it, whether it be to regain yourself, whether it be to have clarity, whether it be because you need to get, I consider celibacy for me to be a second chance of doing things right, a clean slate. That's how I've been looking at it. Celibacy is when you completely restrain yourself from having any sexual interactions, intercourses, things of that sort with anybody, right? So you completely refrain yourself, you completely go without. And I guess it could be challenging because of the society that we live in, but surprisingly for me, it hasn't been as hard. Truthfully, it really hasn't. I was never really it's not something that I was, out here just freaking the streets 24/7, that wasn't, I don't know how else to put it. But celibacy to me is that. By dictionary, you can Google it if you'd like, but that's the definition that we're going by today. So, why celibacy? To give you a little bit of an understanding as to how I even got here, I really got here by mistake. What ended up happening was I started to realize that there was a pattern in heartaches that I had went through, heartbreaks that I had been through. I've never been in love. Let's just throw that out there. But I had realized that there was a pattern in the person that I was attracting. There were certain characteristics, traits, things that I liked that made somebody my type. So my type, I started noticing, was number one, not it. No disrespect to anybody. But it was a direct reflection of a lot of areas and voids that I had within myself that I had not yet addressed, or known of or was probably even ignoring. And I was allowing that. And on top of that, I started realizing that because I was so broken, I thought that I was the healer of all. So I was like, oh my goodness, you're broken. Come here, come to mama. Like, let me be the one to help you, to save you, to show you your worth. When in reality, I didn't know my worth. That's really what I've come down to realizing it. So celibacy to me was my second chance, because I remember that I had came out of a situation that was really hurtful. It really caused me to take a look at myself, because I remember this person used to have me questioning if I was enough, if I was good enough, right? Because this person, I thought I was going to change their ways. But when I met them, I thought that this person, I used to fall for potential. So I remember I saw this person, I saw the potential, I saw their heart, I saw how amazing they were. And then I realized that this person was set on their way of being, their way of thinking, and nothing that I did could change them. But I thought that I was going to make it a challenge for myself and a point for myself to go and prove that I can change them. But number one, lesson learned all across the board. People are going to show you exactly who they are in the very beginning. Believe them. People are going to tell you and exactly what they want and don't want in the beginning. Believe them. It's not your job to change anybody. 3, 4, and 5. It's not your job to change anybody. Come as you are, and the other person will come as they are. Believe them when they tell you something. Pay attention to everything that they do. Like, observe, be observant before giving yourself to someone, right? So, point is that I realized that was my last straw, because I really put all my eggs in one basket, in the sense of that's just how I am. I'm not a serial dater. I don't know how to do that. I don't have the energy to do that, truthfully. I don't want it either. Keep that. I put all my eggs in one basket, but I put it into the wrong basket. And that person made me realize that I ended up leading myself to pains, to hurts that I had no business leading myself to. And that I knew from that relationship, that situation, that my biggest takeaway from it was that I needed time to myself. Why? Because that time to myself, I was like, this person really hurt me, really broke me, really had me looking at myself differently and questioning myself, to the point that this was just to lay it out, this was before I started my walk with Christ. And I remember that after that situation, I was like, it's not his fault, it's my fault, because I didn't give myself my place. I didn't know my place. I didn't know my standards. And after that happened, I was like, man, this situation really broke me a lot. Like, I was really sad, and I was like, I thought less of myself, all this stuff, like I said previously. And I was like, you know what? I can't meet somebody else after this, because I need to take time to myself, because I can't make the next person pay for what this person did. Because there's a lot of brokenness going on around here. There's a lot of questions that I have for myself, about myself. And there's a lot of evaluating that I need to do. I just knew that I just wasn't okay. I'm like, why am I so hurt? And I was like, am I ever going to get over it? I remember I would even question. I'm like, why am I, number one, so hurt? But how did I get here? Why did I let myself get here? I'm so tough for so many things. How did I just be so blind and naive to this? And I started to really realize that I just needed to have time by myself. So that's how my celibacy started. The thing is that when I started it, it was because I really wanted to just cleanse from everything. I wanted to just be by myself. I was heartbroken. I was hurt. And I just wanted to be by myself. I couldn't even picture myself being around somebody else, having those like starting from scratch with somebody else, building memories with somebody else, because I painted the picture in my head that it was going to be with this person. So I had to really remove this person from my thoughts, all that stuff. I didn't want it to ever be a comparison. And because I realized, I was like, you're not it, but I put all my eggs into this basket. Like, if you were it, the next person is going to be it. That's what I said to myself. The next person is going to be it for me. And they're not going to get this person, this version of me, because this is broken. This is not anyone else's fault. So after like 6 months pass of me being completely isolated, not talking to anyone, anything, I end up like meeting somebody, and it was a complete waste of time. Again, like, it was a waste of time because I realized that this person, like, I was just lashing out on them. I was making them I did everything I said I wasn't going to do, which was making them pay for whatever insecurities this other person brought upon me. So at that point, I was like, you know what? I really just need to go. 6 months isn't enough time. I just need to disappear. I don't want to speak to anyone. I don't want to text anyone. I don't want to see anyone. I don't want to go eat with you. I don't even want ice cream from you. I don't even want chips from you. Don't even buy me Cheetos. I love Cheetos. Don't give me no Cheetos. So I was over it. I was over it. And after that happened, I was like, you know what? I started learning. That's when I started my walk with God, like, more intensely. I was like, you know what? When I cut the first person off, I came into my baby steps with God. I was like, that's when I started going to church, and I started like on my own. This was my beginning stages. And then when I met that other person, like 6 months down the road, I entertained somebody entertained, and it wasn't even most remotely anything close to what I had got myself into before. This was like you like dip your toe in the water, you're like, right? No, nip that out the door quick. I remember that after that happened, I was already with my walk with God at this point, and it was like, starting to gain that momentum. And I remember so clearly that I had went to church, and I wasn't heartbroken because I cut things off with this individual that I had entertained. That wasn't it at all. I was crying because I was just like, what's wrong with me? I'm like, what's wrong with me? Why is this so hard? Like, I'm someone who loves love. Why is this so hard for me? And why can't I have that? Like, what am I doing wrong? And so clearly, I remember that the pastor that day said, God tends to the brokenhearted, and if you have a broken heart, come to him. So I was like, oh, so I'm taking all this time by myself when I didn't really have to be by myself, because I could have gone to God. And that's when it started to make sense. And that's when I started to do things with an intention behind it. And I was like, you know what? This me and him, direct me and him time. If the next person is going to be it for me, then that means that I won't ever get this time again, because there's no distraction. There's no in between. There's no someone else, like someone to take my attention. It's just me and him. So I made that very intentional of giving my full attention, conversation, interest, everything to God. And let me tell you, it's been my longest relationship. And the tears that I've shed are happy tears. So why celibacy? Because everything else before was a mess. Everything else before was brokenness, and just broken attracting broken, blind leading the blind, empty. After Christ, remember how last week I was like BC and AC? After Christ, it was I realized what it meant to have a temple, to have a sacred temple. And after like a year passed, not even like after a year passed, I remember I had this conversation with a really good friend of mine, and I was like, I'm not gonna throw this away for just anybody. Like, if somebody's gonna come into my life, I worked this hard on myself to build myself, to build this. There's this wall that I need to protect. And I learned and I realized that I started to value something like that very differently. I started to value myself in a very different way, in a very different light, and had a different outlook on everything when it came down to being sexual with somebody. And to be honest with you, it's crazy because for my whole life, I used to think that if you really like somebody, the way that you show them that you like them is being intimate. And that's what's going to solidify if it was going to be, based on the performance, then okay, you could be my forever, just you and I for the rest of my life. I can have you for just you and be happy with just you for the rest of my life. But then I started learning more and more that it's so much deeper than that. We'll get into it. So how long have I been celibate for? I've been celibate for over 2 years now. 2 years started, 2 years officially, the 3rd week of May. It wasn't even June yet. But I remember May, so 2 years and like a month. Or 2 years and like a month and some change. But that's how long I've been celibate for. Now, because this was a question for me, and I didn't know where to go to for the answer, because I didn't know. I would Google it. I would look for it. I'm like looking it up in the Bible app, and I'm like, yo, somebody answered this for me. Celibacy sounds like, oh, it's so easy because it's not physical contact with somebody else. Celibacy is supposed to be no one-on-one time by yourself either. So no masturbating during celibacy. That's the truth. Flat out, that's how it's supposed to be. Now, I didn't know that until sometime in, right? But once I learned it, I couldn't unsee it. And I realized what it was. And I started looking into it. I was like, okay, why? Understood. And not that I ask why about everything, but I like to know so that I know what areas I need to cover up, like what areas I need to address, what restrictions, like what are no-nos, what I'm not supposed to be doing, what I am okay to allow, and in this walk. And that was one of them. So for anybody that has that question that's entering celibacy, it also includes no masturbation. Don't worry, guys, it's not that bad. We are okay here. Hardest part about celibacy. Here's where it gets tricky. I never considered myself to be somebody that was like hyper sexual in any way. If I was in a relationship, that's a different story. Very different story. In my relationship, very different story. But spontaneous and doing this and like promiscuous and by myself, like out here, outside in these streets, what's up? No. Alcohol was something that never helped to the cause, but I removed that too. Removing anything. It's like how they say, like, if you're on a diet and you have a bunch of potato chips, cookies, ice creams in the fridge in the kitchen, you're gonna end up having those cheat meals, right? And you're gonna mess up on your diet. Same thing with celibacy. I just ended up having to starve anything else that was going to lead me and potentially be a distraction and could potentially derail me and take me off track. I had to go. Okay. Not speaking to people, not entertaining people, that wasn't hard. The hardest part about it has honestly, the hardest part about it is thinking of the fact that one day I'm going to have to let it go. And that might sound crazy, but the hardest part about it was that a little bit earlier I said that I put a different price tag to my value. I put a different price tag to my worth through this agreement that I have with myself, that I have with the Lord. Like, I put a different price tag on myself, and I realized that it's not as common, so people get afraid from when they hear somebody say something like that, which is kind of crazy, because you would think that someone hears that this person, like, if somebody is like out here just like throwing it around everywhere, that they'd be afraid, like, oh, wait a minute, like, where you been? But no, it's actually the person who hasn't that I get the most, like, what? So the hardest thing about it has been people understanding it. And yeah, but I have not dated, and I'm okay with that. So I think that that's also going to be the hardest part. That's where I'm going at with all this. Starting from scratch, dating somebody, being on this walk has taught me that with new standards, with new levels of respect for myself, with new thoughts, with all this stuff, comes new questions, comes new methods of dating, comes new ways of getting to know somebody, comes new taste, because my appetite has changed since then. I now look for different traits in people. I no longer am searching for, there's no longer shelter over here where we're trying to save, and no, like, I'm not looking for someone who is a project. So that's something that's hard. Along with my standards raising and going up, so are my standards in who it is that I'm looking for as somebody to meet, get to know. The dating portion sounds tricky to me because I haven't done it. I don't know what it's like at this point. I feel like I'm starting from scratch. I'm learning how to crawl all over again. And it's crazy because, not that I have dated, but I had a conversation amongst a group of friends, male and females present. Excuse me. And I remember that the conversation came up, and it was like, how long has it, like, not even celibacy, it was just a matter of like, have I dated anybody, or who was the last person that I dated? And I remember that I mentioned it, and then after I was like, oh, but you're like still dating people, right? Like, Steam. I'm like, no, like, not at all. And that moment was a little bit awkward, because then I got asked the question, like, oh, so are you waiting till marriage? And I had never even asked myself that question. I was like, marriage? Like, what does that mean? And I'm just being transparent. So if you are somebody that's going to be on here judging me, that's completely on you. It's not going to stop me from being transparent here, because I have to keep it real. This is a real subject. This is real. And I remember that at that moment I was like, marriage? And mind you, I'm already like a year and a half. Right? A year and a half? I don't know. It's been a while. And I remember I was like, well, I'm not going to just give it to just anybody. Like, I made that clear. I was like, I'm not just going to give it to just anybody. But then I started thinking, I was like, wait a minute. Not giving it to just anybody means that I would have to invest my time into getting to know somebody, feeling safe around them. I would have to make them feel safe too. And I'm going to have to like somebody for more things than just is there sexual chemistry. Because in my head, before, remember, this is me unprogramming myself. This is something I talked about the last episode. I then realized that I had to unprogram myself, because in my mind before, it was boy likes girl, they like each other, physical attraction, it's there, personality is there, that's a plus, chemistry is there, that's a plus. Oh, check plus. And then sexual chemistry is there, baby, we locked in. That's what my thoughts were. So I'm like, so now I have to, this is different. Now I gotta go do some research. That's literally what I thought at that table. I felt so uncomfortable. I felt uncomfortable because I was like, till marriage, and then I could feel so convicted of God being like, I'm sorry, is there something wrong? Did something catch you by surprise? What did you think this was? Did you think that you were going to apply the word in your life in every way, but this one you were going to bend? And I felt convicted because that one struck a really big question that I had never asked myself. I never knew until that question. And that person mentioning that, and I think that because he was a male, the way that it came across, because he was a male, I felt even more challenged and judged. I know he didn't mean it like that. I know that he wasn't like, oh, what the heck? No, but I did feel like, I'm like, dang, this could be something that disqualifies me in a man's eyes. Like, I'm not, I have to wait till marriage, but how long is that? But then I was like, you know what? It's going to disqualify me in the wrong man's eyes. But in the right man's eyes, it's going to make sense. And it's going to be easier. It's going to be easier. It's going to flow. There's going to be different connections. There's going to be different understandings. And if I have these standards of man of God, he's going to have standards for woman of God. And it's going to make sense. It's all going to click and it's all going to make sense. And I won't have to compromise my purity for anyone. So I think that was the hardest part. What's the best part about celibacy? Man, the best part about it is knowing that I won't get this level of intimacy twice. I won't get this level of intimacy twice because, of course, when my person comes and we meet and make my world go round, baby, I'll make your world go round too. We're going to have babies after we get married. We're going to have a baby. Because, well, whatever you want, Lord, but I'm cool with just one. And then after that intimacy, that's gone. That level of intimacy is just gone. Like that blank space. Because right now I feel like I walk with some, like, not that I think I'm better than anything or anyone, but I feel clean and I feel free. I feel pure. I feel light. I feel confident. I feel secure. I feel firm. I feel postured. I feel strong. And I feel like my identity is just very different. I feel like I know that I'm more certain about myself, about my standards. And it's so sad to say, but I didn't have standards before. And I'm not saying that about the people or the person that was a part of my life at any point. I myself didn't have standards because I myself kept myself in situations that I should have walked away from at the first red flag. Should have never. That whole like worldly dating thing is like you go on 3 dates and then how we would say it is like on the third date, did you crack? Like, bro, realistically, this is jumping into the worldly mercy. Like, let's take it back, right? Let's be real. By like, when all that hype of having, like, being intimate and having sex and all that stuff is gone, and you realize that you really can't stand that person, and you're like, you're actually not it. You're really whack. Like, this ain't going nowhere. This dies at here. Even if this has been a great ride, it's not going nowhere. Let's be honest. And sometimes I would look at certain, there's I don't want to say people, because I haven't been outside like that. Let's start off with that. But there's individuals that were in my life that I gave a lot of myself to and my time, and I was like, I should have never done that. Like, I wish I would have got to know you a little bit better, maybe looked at you from a different perspective, not because of appearance, physical. Let's be honest, people can talk their way into the White House sometimes, and like, that shows in the worldly dating and all that, like, surface level. And then, because it would go surface level to intimate, and then that in between is like a bunch of emptiness depending on the person. And that was a big shift for me, right? Because now I'm looking at it like, okay, so now it's surface level, and we're gonna build until this. But if we don't build this, we're not gonna get to this. And I'm okay with that, because I'd much rather waste, like, I don't want to waste my time, but this is easier to just, you take the lessons, take it to the chin, that's it. This level of intimacy is like, there's a lot when it comes down to spiritual ties. You wear whatever that person was attached to, you wear whatever that person came with. There's so much attached when it comes down to spiritual ties. And that intimacy, quick moment of happiness and fun that people might consider it to be, it walks with you a lot longer than you think. It walks with you, it haunts you a little bit longer. Like, I remember that the person that I was talking about earlier, that I was like, I'm so heartbroken. I never cried like that in my life, by the way. That person that I was so heartbroken about, I remember I would even be like, I feel like I could smell his scent, and like little things. And I remember like little memories, and it's just like a more deeply embedded thing. And then I learned with time that it's because that is a whole entire covenant moment, like, to become one. And it was so real. Now that I see it as that, I ended up developing a respect for that. So not only did I have a respect for myself now, but I have a respect for that covenant that it's considered to be. And sometimes, I guess another one of the scary parts is, and that's it for my list, so everything else that we're doing, we're flowing here. I think that another scary part is like dating in a Christian world. It's a little bit scary and intimidating, because for me, being transparent, I'm not gonna go for you just because you're Christian. And what I mean by that is, it's not gonna be the first person that comes up to me like, yo, you believe in God? I believe in God too. We should believe in God together. I'm gonna pray for you, you pray for me, boo. We should pray together. And that's it. Or the person that will come up to you, and this is why I've been so private about this, because the last thing that I want is for people, like, to start getting those messages of, oh, you should take me to church with you. That's something that number one I get, and it's like, no. Well, yes, but no. How about I send you to another church that's really good? What area are you in? No, I'm joking. Not joking. It's my intimate time. But I don't know, man. I don't know how the game works. I just think that, I don't know, like, I think I was always so scared of seeing people that would start dating from scratch, and it's like, oh, 3 months in we're married. I would be like, whoa, wait a minute. So this path of intimacy, of this path of celibacy, I might not still have it fully down packed, but not that I don't have it down packed, because I know what I'm doing and I know what I'm not doing. I know what I'm not going to compromise, and I know where I'm at with it. But what I am going to say is that we will touch base when it comes down to, we'll revisit this whole in the dating scene and the dating aspect. But as of right now, I'm not there yet. I feel like there's still so much more for me to accomplish. There's still so many instructions for me to follow. And I feel that I can feel and I can hear God working in me in specific areas, very specific areas in my life. And all I have to do is be obedient to it. I do know that something that one of my spiritual mentors did tell me was that God is teaching me to look at him not only as a friend, a best friend, a father, but also as a husband. He shows you the standards to have as a husband. And there's a quote that I used that my best friend Kenya pointed me in the direction of, and it says her heart was so invested in God. Let me look it up really quick. I don't want to butcher it because I feel like I switch it up all the time, but it's the same concept. I just don't want to say it wrong on here. This one. It's by Maya Angelou, and it says, a woman's heart should be so hidden in God that a man has to seek him just to find her. And that, my friends, was the mic drop for me, because I'm running so full force. And this is what my spiritual mentor said. She said, run full force in the direction of God and what calling he has for you and what he has for you. And the person that is running in that same direction, keeping up with the same pace or at the same pace, running at the same direction, when you look to your right, that's going to be the person for you. And that was the realest thing I ever heard, because she told me also, don't go for a project. Don't go for someone to save. Go for someone who is stronger than who you are as a person, because I have a very strong personality. Go for someone who is stronger in faith so that they can uproot you. The man is the head of the house. Lift you up, and you will support him and learn to be submissive to that. So I think that to me sounds like a lot more of a beautiful love story than the way that I was living before. So celibacy is beautiful nonetheless. And if you're new to it, if you're thinking of jumping into it, just do it. Do it, because that time alone between you and the Lord, and the connection that you build, and putting all of your desires into him. Of course, I'm a woman. Of course, I'm human. Of course, those thoughts come to my mind sometimes. Hormones are hormones. But what do? I divert those thoughts into something else. I'll put myself into doing something productive. I'll put myself into doing something creative. I'll write. I'll read. I'll do something different. I'll shift my thoughts. And that's discipline. That's a very different level of discipline. But it's the small areas, and something as small as that. The Lord sees all. Okay, he sees all that you do. And not just that, but the guilt that would follow you after knowing that you're not supposed to be doing, or what you're not supposed to be doing on your alone time when your hormones hit, it's big, it's important, it's intentional. And I think that one of the most important things to know too is that, Jesus was human. Jesus knows the things that we struggled with. Jesus knows the desires and the thoughts, and that was something that was brought to my attention too. So don't think for a second that it's not something that It's fleshly desires. Starve your fleshly desires and redirect and shift those into something more positive. Celibacy is easy. It's doable, it's possible, and it's so worth it. Don't listen to what today's society got going on. That's real messy. That's a bunch of spiritual ties. You don't want none of that. You don't want somebody that's going to drain you after something that's supposed to be beautiful. Because God created all the stuff that goes down in that little covenant moment, in that beautiful covenant moment when two become one. So he wants you to enjoy that, but not to hand it out like hotcakes. He wants you to enjoy that with the person that he has created for you. It is not good for man to be alone, so we're not going to be like this forever. But it's not good for anyone to be alone. But in due time, having that clear space, clear mind, clear thoughts, and set standard, then the right person will come. The Lord will bring the right person to you. And I know that it's going to get there. So this we're going to revisit on a different note when one day we're married. Anybody who's not on this walk is going to be like, this girl's the Lulu. She is crazy. Because if you would have told me this 6 years ago, I would have been like, what? What are you talking about, girl? You crazy. Girl, hush. Sit down. But it's real. It gets real on this walk. So if you're thinking about the whole celibacy walk, do it. Do it because you're not alone. I encourage you. I support you. So on that note, I am going to lead us out to close out in prayer. I hope that everybody got a different breadth of, I know last week was a little bit heavy. I feel like this week I didn't want last week to be as heavy as it really could have gone, because let's be honest, it could have gone left. This week I just wanted it to be like your friend talking to you. I'm like, what would I want to hear? Well, not the Lord. When I was talking to God about it, I'm like, the Holy Spirit about it, I was like, how do I talk about it? Like, I know it's easy to talk about because it's my walk, it's my truth, but how should I word it? And so firmly, all I heard was sincerely. Speak to them how you would have been receptive to it when you were in their shoes. And I was like, all right, so just be myself, because I didn't sit here and try to tell you guys like, yo, it's easy, yo, it's that, like, like, it's challenging. No, I hope not. I hope I didn't come off like that. I was just transparent with you guys, right? Like, we're human. I know. I understand. I've been there, but is it worth it? 100%. Is it worth not having all the snacks in the pantry and going to the gym and being consistent and being disciplined to get to the goal that you want for yourself, physically, mentally, all that fog gone, eating clean foods, only doing what's right? Yeah, it's worth it. So just shift that same idea and perspective into intimacy. Because if you have a cheat meal, you can go burn that off and you'll shed that fat right off. But if you give yourself to somebody else and you give yourself to the wrong person, you're going to rock out with whatever spiritual ties it is that they carry, whatever demons it is that they carry, all that stuff. You going to wear that for some time. Okay? So save yourself some of the heartache, save yourself the time, and just save yourself. Give yourself that respect, that love, that energy. Okay? So I'm going to go ahead and pray this out. Father God, I want to welcome you into this moment. Lord, above all, I want to thank you because you allow this platform to be something that's just such a safe space, Lord. I know that there's been people that have been reaching out, coming back, returning, just finding these episodes, Lord. And at the end of the day, this platform is yours and not mine, Father. It's something that it actually became something that's so fun because you allow all the things that for such a long time weighed heavy on me, the questions that I used to only share with you, and the subjects and the notes and the things that I've been able to learn from you directly, from your word directly, Lord. You're now giving me the strength and the voice and the courage to put it into something that's a discussion, an open discussion, something that's like I'm like an open textbook, Lord. May my testimony forever be something that's transparent, relatable, and just never something that makes anybody feel like they're being singled out, questioned out, or looked at differently, because this is a place where whenever we come into your presence, you see us for something that is completely different from what we see when we look in the mirror, Lord. May every single person be able to know and understand that your love and your mercy and your grace and your forgiveness is something that is so beautiful, because the moment that we acknowledge that what we did was incorrect and we repent for it and we come to you and we give you that guilt, that shame, all of that, and we surrender all of that at the cross, Lord, you make us clean, you make us whole all over again. You patch up those wounds, you take off all those that dirt, whatever it is that makes us feel like we're less than. You take that off of our shoulders, and that's how beautiful your mercy and your grace is. May no one feel impure. May no one feel like they've done too much, they've gone too far, that their sins are unforgivable, because, Lord, you allow us to be able to see us with different lights. Lord, allow them, each and every single person that's watching this episode and hearing this episode, allow them to be able to, for a second, be able to see themselves through the eyes that you see them, through what you really created them to be, Lord. Because until we're able to see that high magnitude of love and understand that high level of vision that you have for each and every single one of us, that high level of purpose that you have for each and every single one of us, Lord, until we're able to see that, we walk around blindly. But the moment that we're exposed to those levels of greatness that you see us as and what you created us to be, then we learn to hold ourselves at a similar value, if not the same, than what it is that you hold us to. And even though we might fall short, Lord, allow every single person to know that even if they fall short, if they sin, and if they do something that makes them fall off track whenever it's a covenant with you, Lord, allow them to run free and stay free from the enemy when the enemy says that they're impure and that you'll never take them back, Lord. Allow each and every single person that falls short or has fallen short or will fall short, that you know that it's going to happen in one area of our lives or the other, but that home is always going to be within you, Lord, that we have a place in your home, that we have a place within you, Lord, that's going to be eternal, and that the blood of Jesus Christ washes every single sin and every single person clean from any and every impurity and anything that they have done, Lord. Allow us to continue finding you, walking with you, hearing you, and seeking you, Lord Jesus. In Jesus' mighty name I pray. Amen. That was so much fun. That was fire. I really liked that prayer. I feel like it was like a celebration dance. But yeah, guys, I feel like that was a really cool way to end it, because we're never going to come here and be on some like rah pointing at you stuff. That's never going to be the case. It's, my mentor said, the enemy goes like this, God goes like this. So bring it in. Whatever it is that you carry, that you've done, bring it in. Bring it to God. Bring it into the Lord. Take it to him, because he's literally waiting on you, and he's going like this. Like, all that crying you're doing, come over here. All that guilt you got, come over here. All that shame you wearing, come over here. All those reasons that you said that you can't do that one thing, come over here. Surrender it. So once again, thank you guys for watching. This and every single Thursday, I'm going to come with new episodes for you. I'm so excited to have you all here. If you watched until this point, thank you. Please be sure to like, comment, subscribe, leave something and I want to make that comment section to be like a party. I want everyone to be able to see testimonies, hear stories. Like, I want to hear from you. Like, let's do this. Like, this is a really beautiful community that I'm looking to build with you, and it's nothing without you. Any comment that you leave, this is your bestie that you are speaking to. Okay, we're going through all this together, and I'm just so blessed and happy that we are here for such a time as this. So I will see you next Thursday. Thank you guys for watching, and I hope you have an amazing rest of the week. Go celibate.